The vents weren't supposed to talk back, but on day 3 of our mission, I heard one whisper my name while I was alone in electrical. I froze with my hand halfway to the wire panel, because vents are metal tubes that carry air, not existential dread and personal information. "Red," the vent said again, softer this time, like it was testing whether I'd actually respond to a sentient air duct. I did what any rational person would do. I said hello, vent, and immediately regretted every life choice that led to this conversation. The vent laughed, actually laughed, a sound like metal scraping against metal if metal could find things funny. I tried to leave, but the lights went out, and the vent said, "Don't you want to know why Purple really died in storage?" Purple was my friend. Purple brought me snacks from cafeteria, and Purple's body got found in a storage crate like forgotten cargo. The vent told me it wasn't the impostor who killed Purple, it was the ship itself, tired of carrying dead-weight crew who couldn't finish a card swipe. "That's insane," I said. And the vent replied, "So is talking to ventilation. Yet here we are." And honestly, it had a point. The vent offered me a deal, help it feed by leading crew to certain rooms, and it would tell me who the real impostor was. I should have said no, should have run to the emergency button, but the vent promised answers and I was tired of being scared. The first task was simple, convince Green to check the vent in admin, and I did it by saying I heard a weird noise in there. Green walked over, bent down to listen, and the vent grabbed them so fast I didn't even see it happen, just heard the crunch. The vent burped, actually burped like it had indigestion, and said tasty but a bit bland. "You should season the next one." I threw up in the nearest trash can while the vent complained about my weak stomach and asked if I was even taking this partnership seriously. That night in my quarters, I couldn't sleep because every air duct sounded like it was whispering Green's last scream on loop. The vent in my room said, "You know what's funny?" And I said nothing about this is funny. And it said exactly, "That's what makes it hilarious." It told me the imposter was yellow, had been yellow since the start, but yellow was too smart to get caught normally. The only way to expose yellow was to make them jealous, to show them that even the ship's ventilation system was a better killer than they were. So I became bait in the worst fishing trip ever, where the fish was a murderous crewmate and the hook was a carnivorous air duct. I started leading more crew to vents, each one convinced I was helping them check for imposter hiding spots, each one wrong. Orange went down fighting, actually punched the vent twice before it swallowed them, and the vent said, "I respect that energy." Blue tried to run, but the vent in the hallway opened beneath them like a trapdoor, and I learned that vents have a network, a whole system of hungry mouths. The ship's ventilation wasn't just talking to me, it was coordinating, planning, treating the crew like a buffet menu where everyone was the special. Yellow noticed. Of course Yellow noticed, because imposters recognize competition when they see it, even when it's coming from HVAC infrastructure. Yellow cornered me in Reactor and said, "I know what you're doing," and I said I'm completing tasks, and they said the tasks don't scream. I could have denied it, but the vent above us started laughing again, that horrible metallic sound. And Yellow looked up slowly. The vent said, "Oh, this is better than reality TV," and Yellow said, "What the hell is happening?" And I said, "Honestly, I stopped asking that question days ago." Yellow tried to kill me right there, but the vent dropped between us and said, "Not yet. I want to see how this ends." So we just stood there, me and Yellow, on opposite sides of a vent that had apparently taken creative control of our murder mystery. The vent proposed a game. Whoever could kill more crew in the next hour would get to live, and the loser would become vent food. Yellow said that's insane, and I agreed, but the vent sealed all the doors and said game's already started, better hurry. I ran toward cafeteria while Yellow headed to medbay, and I realized I was about to compete in a murder Olympics judged by ductwork. White was in cafeteria, and I tried to warn them, but the vent whispered, "Do it or you're next," and my hand found the knife before my brain could protest. White's last words were, "I trusted you and I said I know," and that was somehow worse than any scream. The vent announced the score like a sports commentator. Red 1, yellow 2, and it's still anybody's game, folks. I found cyan and pink together in navigation, holding hands, probably the last moment of human connection on this cursed ship. I couldn't do it. Couldn't break that moment, and the vent said disappointing, I expected more from my champion. Yellow had no such hesitation and killed them both while I watched, efficient and cold, and the vent cheered like it was watching football. The score was yellow 4, red 1, and I realized I was going to die because I'd rediscovered my conscience at the worst possible time. But then the vent said, actually, I lied. There was no imposter. Yellow's been a regular crewmate the whole time. Same as you. Yellow's face went from confident killer to horrified realization, because they'd murdered 4 people based on a vent's suggestion and their own paranoia. The vent explained it had been bored, that centuries of circulating air made it hungry for entertainment, and we were the best show it had seen. I asked why us, why this ship, and the vent said, because you all failed that card swipe so many times I knew you were idiots. Yellow tried to attack the vent, but you can't stab air ducts, they just laugh at you, which this one did, loudly. The vent gave us one final option. One of us jumps into it voluntarily, and the other gets to live and tell this story. Yellow looked at me, and I looked at Yellow, and we both knew the math. They'd killed 4, I'd killed 1. Morally, I owed less debt. But Yellow said, you hesitated with Cyan and Pink, you're still human. I'm just a murderer with a good excuse. Yellow walked to the vent before I could argue, said, tell them we tried to be good, and stepped in like diving into a pool. The vent consumed them in seconds, and I heard Yellow's scream echo through every duct in the ship before silence fell like snow. I'm alone now, the last crew member on a ship run by a sadistic ventilation system that got exactly the show it wanted. The vent hasn't spoken since, but sometimes I hear it laughing, usually when I'm trying to sleep or convince myself I'm not insane. I've stopped doing tasks because what's the point of fixing a ship that's alive and enjoys watching you suffer? Sometimes I stand in front of vents and dare them to take me too, but they never do, because a story needs someone to tell it. So I'm recording this log for whoever finds this ship, if anyone finds this ship, which the vent says they won't. The emergency meeting button still works, but there's nobody left to meet with except my guilt and a vent that won't stop judging my life choices. If you're reading this, don't trust the vents, don't trust your crew, and definitely don't agree to play games with air ducts that know your name. And if you hear your name whispered from the ventilation, just know it's already too late. It knows you're listening, and it's hungry again. I'm Red. I'm the sole survivor of the Skeld, and I'm starting to think being the last one alive is the worst punishment of all. The vent just laughed at that last line and said, now you're getting it, so I guess we're both telling this story after all.